Hey, what's up, everybody? Today we're going to go over a rabbit hole that I've been going down quite a bit, and I am having a blast. And that is with virtual machines. Virtual machines are a really cool way to quickly set up servers to run applications that you might need without affecting, say, a production machine or your main home system. And we'll go ahead and just have a look, see what's going on. Uh, so here we are in the TrueNAS dashboard, but I say that 10 times fast. And one of the things that TrueNAS does, besides being great NAS software, I haven't fully deployed mine yet, but it's coming. If we look at what this unit is rocking with, I grabbed an Ustar WTR Pro. It's got an AMD Ryzen 7 5825U with integrated graphics and 16 gigs of RAM. That says 15 gigabytes, but 16 gigabytes, it's the same thing. All right. Well, what exactly am I talking about here? Well, this NAS is shipping with way more horsepower than a ZFS NAS, especially one only running that's going to be running 4 hard drives, is ever going to need. Like, the memory's nice, but the CPU is just going to be on vacation. It's going to be doing nothing. Even during like heavy read writes, any heavy NAS applications, like this thing's just not going to be working that hard. So what we want to do is let's put some of those idle resources to work. I can't think of a better use case than a virtual machine. So let's have a look, see what's going on here. So let's go to our virtual machines. As you can see, I've already set up a few. I've got a Windows 11 VM. I've got a Debian VM that I've actually broken. Oops. And then I've got 3 Ubuntu VMs. And there's a reason I have 3. But first, let's go ahead and go through the process of setting up a VM so that way I can explain what goes into this. So a VM is just a computer that runs inside of a computer, right? So that means we need to give that virtual computer resources from our bare metal one. So if we were to make one, let's say we want to make a Windows one. All right. We'll call this one Win11 test. Not going to describe it. All right, because it's Windows, we need to enable secure boot and TPM. They'll just pass that through. We don't need this to start on boot. TrueNAS gives us a baked-in viewer, so we're going to have a password for that. All right, now here's like the most important part of the VM, and that's resource allocation. This is when you do it. So virtual CPUs, this is basically just how many sockets you have. Just set that to 1 if you're just a consumer machine. This is Windows, so I'm going to give it 4 cores. I'm going to say each core has 2 threads. I don't know that I'd necessarily like this verbiage that TrueNAS is using, but whatever. CPU mode, we're going to do pass-through, so all the capabilities of this CPU will go to the virtual machine. However, some OSs are pretty locked down, so if you need it to identify as another CPU, you can do that. And here we go, memory size. So as you can see, I've carved out 4 physical cores and then 2 threads per physical core. Now we need to carve out memory. So I'm going to give Windows 8 gigs. All right. So this is the maximum memory that it will take up. However, minimum memory, if the VM just doesn't ask for that much, then we can specify a minimum. You can use that. With a system like this, we can just give it memory. Don't worry about it. At install, you'll get some weird behavior, so just do this. You can change that later, especially with Linux. Disks, this is where we allocate how big the actual storage volume for it's going to be and where it's going to live. I'm going to do VM dataset. Some of this is TrueNAS specific, don't worry about it. But this is what we care about. Size, 50 gigabytes. Next. And then we're going to say it has an Intel. We're going to tell it, hey, act like an Intel network card. This is broader compatibility. This has better performance if compatibility is not an issue. But because I'm going to be putting it in a lag, it's fine. This is where you tell it what NIC to use. I have two. Do that. Installation media. And this is where I pick out the operating system it's going to use. Find that installer. Do that. Next. GPU. Just pass it through. And then when I hit save, that's going to create a new virtual machine. So I'll do that right now. And then here's our Windows 11 test. Start it up. Display. All right, I was too late because this boots real fast. There we go. Things you just learn. And then you're going to install Windows like you normally would, or any OS. Like you're going to have to go through the installation process. All right, so I'm not going to do that here. I'm just going to go back. I'm going to power it off. And I'm just going to show you what that's going to look like when we finish. I already have this one up and running. There we go. All right, swell. And there we go. Windows 11 right there. Bog standard. So this is cool because you're running Windows inside of another operating system. And then if we go to Task Manager, we can see all the cores and threads we assigned. So that's really, really cool. Uptime, I mean, it's behaving like a regular system. So cool. And it sees that it's a virtual machine as well. So Windows is pretty dang smart. Now, this is cool, but is it useful? Just as a user interface, probably not. This is a less performant way to run an OS. But especially for Windows, here's a couple use cases I can think of. So let's say you're doing some work and you have to go to, for one reason or another, you need to go to a very shady website and you don't trust what that is going to be loading onto your system. Well, the beautiful thing about virtual machines is, and I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate this here. So if you have your host machine and it's running and you're looking downstream into your virtual machine, all right, so you're doing all of your work here. If you're doing going to all the websites, installing all the programs and what have you, and you're doing that here, guess what? Nothing can go upstream to the host machine. You do your work, get what you need, figure out a way to get that maybe onto a USB drive or some other device, delete this, especially after you validate whatever you download. Once you've done that, turn this off, delete this, and then run it on your host machine. Again, if you've validated that it is safe. That is a really, really good use for a virtual machine. Another thing you can do is if websites are blocking access, if you don't allow cookies, or like any kind of tracking data or what have you, you can use a virtual machine to go to those websites. They're going to get worthless data that might not be worth nuking the machine, so you can just like pop it on there. See, oh, hey, this website wants me to agree to this that I'm not comfortable with. Fire up a VM, do it. Great use case. Or let's say you're a tinkerer and you want to swim around the Windows registry. Like you're reading about some changes you can make. So you can come in, make those changes. I don't know. I'm just going places. Modify. I don't know what this is going to do. I can change that to true and see what happens. If it breaks the VM, whatever, I'll just spin up a new one. Didn't hurt anything. You're not keeping important data. That's an unbelievably great use case for a virtual machine, but there's actually a more powerful way you can use VMs, and for that we're going to have to go to a different operating system. So I'm going to go ahead and actually I'm just going to force this one off, and then close that. Let's go down to one of these Linux machines. So I've got Debian, which I broke, and then Ubuntu. Let's do my base install. Now this is going to start up a little slower, but it'll also be available quicker. Like it'll shut down quicker. Give it a sec. There it is. What you're noticing is these are booting up much faster than a physical machine can. So that's really cool. So this is the Ubuntu Linux desktop. And here's another extremely powerful use case for a virtual machine. I don't main Linux. I main Windows. I know enough about Mac OS to get by. I'm competent. I can do anything in Mac OS that I can in Windows. But Linux, even though I've dived into it off and on for years, still total newbie. So, if I want to spend more time in Linux, I can either dual boot or I can set up a virtual machine. Dual booting is inconvenient because I have things I'm monitoring, things I'm working on, and those have to be done in Windows. And if I'm in Linux, I'm not doing those things. With a virtual machine running on a NAS, I can do all of that and still mess around in Linux. So that's really cool. And again, you still have all the same benefits as the Windows machine. You can tinker, blow it up, do whatever you want. So it's fantastic. Now, the eagle-eyed among you will notice I had several uh, Ubuntu machines. So this one I have running an Nginx server, and that Nginx server is going to be a restream server. So if I send it a Twitch stream, it'll also send it to YouTube, Facebook, wherever else I want to go. All I got to do is start it, and Nginx runs at startup. It's the only thing running. Or I can also mess around with Ansible. And Ansible is a network automation tool. Well, really, it's a systems automation tool, but in Cisco world, this is used a lot. So I want to teach myself this in Python. So this is the VM I'm going to be spending a lot of time in as well. And if I break anything, I can spin one up real quick by just cloning this base machine. So I created this VM and this VM to be bases, so then if I want to do something really risky, I can clone it, get into that cloned VM, mess around. If I break it horribly, turn it off, delete it, clone it, and I am back up in less than 5 seconds. So yeah, that's virtual machines in a nutshell. They're very useful, especially if you want to go, like I said, I don't know if I said it, but if you want to go into programming, if you want to go into networking, cybersecurity, what have you. But if you're just a casual user, VMs have something for you as well.